All right, so the International Knowledge Dissemination Association, I actually have no idea what their official title is in English offhand, but they have a test for flags, and they also have tests for like countries and stuff. But one of the neat things about this test in particular is that they have the option for parents to do it with their children. And so there's basically 5 levels of each set of tests, and the number of questions and the difficulty of the questions gets increasingly harder every single time. Previously, we took the level 5 and level 4. Lower number for the test is higher difficulty, and we are going to be taking the level 3 and level 2 very soon next week. So before that, I am doing some training on my own to memorize the flags of the world and make sure that I have their names down well. Because once you get to level 3 and above, again above is 3, 2, 1. Um, you have to. There's a lot of written answers that you have to do. So um, I didn't really know. I wasn't really very good at either geography or flags when I was younger. But my son and I have been studying. We passed the level 4, 5, and 4, and I want to make sure that we pass more tests if we can. So we are going to do the world test here. There is 200 flags that they're going to be asking about. There's also going to be history and stuff of the flags on the tests, but the main part of these tests is, do you know what this flag is, or what country is associated with this flag, or whatever. Some will be multiple choice, some not. But for this app that we're going to be using anyway, it is just look at the flag, or sorry, look at the country name and guess the flag. And we'll do world here, 200, which is 5 more countries than are officially recognized as countries by Japan. But we'll see. I think I'll know what they are anyway. So here we go. So Nigeru, this one, and I don't know a lot of the country names in in English, so I'm gonna be using some kind of Japanese pronunciation here or whatever. So this one I remember because it looks a lot like India, the flag. So it's just India without the complicated. Uh, I guess it's a mandala or something in the middle. I should know that. All right, next we have Ireland. So you see here we have 2 similar flags. Sort of, I think a lot of people associate the Irish with the color green. So the color green comes first, it's on the left. All right, next we have Komoro. And this is kind of maybe a weird way to remember it, but I remember it is the 4 stars and the moon kind of look like a corn on the cob, you know. Um, and in Japanese we call the corn like on the cob tomorokoshi, and this is komoro. And I don't know. It just sort of it works for me. I can remember it this way. Right, Kuwait. I remember this one because it looks like a lot of other flags, but it's like it's not a triangle on the left side. It's kind of like a Japanese ku in um, in hiragana, or you could remember it as I don't know. It also brings to mind the old game Quake people played on the PC. I don't know why, but I remember it that way. Okay, Germany, Deutsche. So this one, I think as long as you remember that it's horizontal lines and not vertical lines, this one is a pretty famous flag. So North Macedonia here. Um, this one, it's basically an anime flag that is what it looks like to be, or some kind of explosion, or the sun, maybe the slightly more controversial Japanese flag that we have is similar. So this one over here is sort of like an anime flag. And how do I associate with Kita Macedonia? I don't know. I've seen it a lot. Here we have Laos, and you see, just as I was saying, things that look like similar to Japanese flags. We have three here. We have Bangladesh, Palau, and Laos, and all of them have the circle in the middle. Interesting um, piece of information here. The Palau one, the one with blue and the yellow circle, is not actually the sun. That's the moon. And this is like one of those questions that you might get on the test. Is how many flags have the sun on them, or what is featured on the this flag or whatever. I don't recall offhand if Laos is supposed to be the sun or the moon or something else. I think I think it's the moon, also in Laos. Anyway, Laos, it's kind of got the lines on it like Thai and some of those other countries, right? Tunisia. This one, it looks a lot like Turkey, um, but it's it's got it in the circle in the center here. The This app, I guess, it just gives me random flags together, so I don't know what one's gonna show up. Anyway, uh, just put that side by side with Turkey and try and remember. So Israel flags, I think, pretty distinct, pretty from most other flags anyway. Lebanon again, um, fairly distinct, given they've got this big tree in the middle of their flag. So no, I don't think it's just too big of a problem. Remember that. So Bahama. I don't really have a trick to remember this one, but I guess the yellow beach and the blue skies or something. That's not very good advice, maybe, but you know. So Higash Timor, East Timor, to what is it in English? Timor Leste or something. Um, Again, I never came up with a really good way to memorize this one. I guess I've seen it enough that I know what it is. Next, we have Tanzania. This is another one. This is actually, I think, the in the top 25 most populated countries in the world. Um, so, I mean, I've seen the flag enough to remember it, but the name reminds me of the Tasmanian devil. So I kind of think of it like spinning through the middle of the flag and leaving this mark. But there's other flags that could look similar to that. So I don't know if that's a good way to remember or not. All right, Denmark. This is supposedly the oldest flag used for a country in the entire world. And one thing that's interesting is my understanding is Denmark has laws in their country that you cannot destroy other countries' flags, but they will not punish you for destroying their own flag, which I suppose is like freedom of speech, protest, that sort of thing, which I think, for a country to do kind of shows that they're not too self-centered or whatever. I don't think it's a good thing to destroy any flags at all. But anyway, this flag was supposedly rumored to have come down from the heavens, and the first or the oldest known country flag is what I've heard anyway. Um, so how do I remember this one? I guess it's um, well, let's say the one on the right here is oh, how am I pointing? Oh, there he goes. Sweden. So I've seen that enough that I kind of know. And then I guess I don't really have any other trick of how I determine it between the others per se. I think of I guess Norway is kind of like a street because it's got the white around it as well on the left there. But Denmark, yeah, I guess I just kind of remember it's red. Uh, Belgium, Belgium. So, Belgium's known for chocolate, I think. That's how what I know it for. I've never been there, so I don't really know. But for the flags that remind me of chocolate, I think they all have the color black in them. So if black is on the left here, and you can remember that this is not Germany, you'll remember Belgium chocolate on the left, right? Palestine. This one, I mean, here they're giving me a set of flags. It's not very confusing. This one's probably in the news enough that I think a lot of people have seen it. Um, yeah. So I don't. Japan does not officially recognize it as a country though, but not currently. So this is one of the flags that it could still appear on the test, but it's not a flag that Japan officially recognizes as a country. I mean, they recognize it as a state or maybe an independent state. I'm not exactly sure, but not a country per se. Next, we have Uruguay, Uruguay. Um, so this is one of those two countries with the smiling suns, right? And I kind of remember it as this like Uruguay is like the Greece version of the smiling sun or something. So Maldives, um, this one, I think the only flag that I might get confused with this one would be Mauritania, and um, so the sort of Mori is like reminds me of color green forest or something, and Maldives I kind of think of it as um, like digging or moles in the dirt or something, and this might not be so helpful, but you have like the two layers and then like a head of a mole or something coming out. So that's how I remember it anyway. Swiss, this one I think is famous enough that most people have seen it. Mexico is basically Italia with the emblem. Seychelles, this is another one of those very anime-esque flags that really stands out to me, and I don't think there's a lot of flags that you would get confused with as long as you remember that this country exists. One is the animation ones here, the animation with like the background, right? So Guinea, again, they give me a selection here. I don't know how random this is, but this is not overly confusing selection. I think the main problem is Guinea and Mali look very similar. They're both like vertical line stoplights, and Guinea has the red on the left, Mali has the green on the left, and uh, I guess guinea pigs are closer to red than green. So okay, now we have Sekido Guinea, um, Equatorial Guinea. There's actually I think four countries with Guinea in the name. I don't. I should look that up. There's probably a question that revolves around that. Anyway, the equator. It's a red line. Remember, there's a red line in here, and it might be easier to remember if the red line was in the center, but it's at the bottom of this particular flag. And then there's like um, a tree, I think, growing out of it. I don't know what that tree is per se. Again, I should probably look this up. But the red line I can remember is the Sekito Guinea. San Marino. I mean, this flag, San is three Japanese, and we got these three castle towers or whatever they are here. So this one on the left. Okay, then we have Slovakia and Slovenia and a few others here. And Slovakia. I remember the key. Yeah, I think you could see the name here. Key, the second to last letter, looks a lot like this double cross in the flag itself. Madagascar. I remember this one. I mean, I associate way more with the animal movie than anything else, and it's one of those I think rare flags in Africa that doesn't have yellow in it. So I mean, it looks a lot like Benin, but has the white on the side. And I guess white is like a film reel kind of, which it maybe doesn't look like a film reel, but you know. Okay, Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan. So this is going to be really weird way to remember it, but in Resident Evil 6, there's an enemy known as the Usternak, and that's what comes to mind for me. And it had like this interchangeable arm and guns on the arm. So the one that looks like there's a gun shooting multiple machine gun rounds or something in the top here. So Oman, right? Oman. So I got a um, this one. This one. I'm pretty sure the items in the top left are. I'd like to actually zoom in on this, but are um, traditional weapons of some kind. But when I see them just at a glance, they always look like banana peels to me. So I kind of remember just someone slipping on banana peels. Oh man, falling over. And that's how I remember Oman. Kilgis. I don't know what this is in English actually. I've seen the spelling before. I think it's actually a stan on the end in English, but Kyrgyzstan. I don't know. Anyway, this one it reminds me of Samus from the Metroid series, rolling into the ball and using a hyper bomb or something to kill the enemies. So here we have Papua New Guinea. This one, um, just based on the flag itself, it's got the Southern Cross, and I think it's the country's bird. I should look up what the bird is because this was another one of those questions that they might ask you on these tests, like what bird is in this flag or something. And this one here, that's I mean the way I memorize it is just it's like Papua just sounds like some kind of bird name to me, even though I don't think it is. So Tonga. So Tonga, it brings to mind an image of well, I'm blanking on the word here. What the I think the Maori people do that dance. It's not coming to mind. But anyway, uh, and that probably doesn't actually help remember what the flag actually looks like. But I don't know. I remember it as very Swiss-like Tonga. So you use tongs to grab your like Swiss cheese or something. So Belarus, what is it in English? Belarus, I think. So this is one of the two flags I remember as having a sort of like a rug on the left side, and I don't think that's actually a rug, but it looks very rug-like to me. So I just remember it as a rug there. Hungary. Okay, this one, I think there's a lot of countries that have very similar looking flags. I kind of remember it as um, remember it as in differentiate between other flags is you got the white space in the middle and there's nothing in there because you're hungry. and it's like a mouth, you know, opening and closing. So white space with nothing in there. You're hungry. Hungry. West Sahara. So this is another one that Japan doesn't recognize as a country currently, anyway. Um, which so this one I think it's one of the flags that I've seen the least, and I think it's very similar to the Palestine flag. So it would be this one here. So I kind of remember this one as a flag that I don't see often. So San Tome Principe is. This is another one that I don't really have a good way of having memorized it, but there's two parts to the name, San Tome and Principe, so it's two stars for each one there. Jamaica, okay, this one comes up so often. I think I originally saw it in Street Fighter 2 way back in the day. So, I don't know, Jamaica is just a very easy flag to distinguish from others. I think it's one of the only flags in the world that doesn't use red, white, or blue. Maybe it's the only country flag in the world that doesn't use them. I should double check that, but I think yeah, no red, no white, or no blue in Jamaica, and everywhere else I think uses at least one of those colors. So Bhutan. So this one is easy to remember. The shape of the flag, anyway, as long as you remember what country it's associated with, and it's the dragon. So Bolivia. Bolivia. This is actually one of the flags that I probably have the most trouble with. It's another one of those stoplight flags. I think there's sometimes actually an emblem in the center of the flag, but it's not here on this app anyway. It should be this one on the left. So the stoplight flag red on the top. Bolivia, right? So Peru. Peru, I also think often has an emblem in the middle, but it's one of those countries that, yeah, or for the flag anyway, it's very similar to like Canada, I think, for how the flag actually looks. So Peru, Canada, if you find some connection there, maybe Peru sounds like prune. Canadians eat a lot of prunes. I don't know, maybe. Okay, so Bosnia Herzegovina. Don't know how you pronounce that in English or any other language, but I assume it would be kind of similar. Uh, Reminds me of like video game bosses and Hertz. It's like it's Hertz, but it sounds kind of like Hertz. So a boss that hurts. And then you got these stars going down diagonal that sort of like indicate a boss gauge of how much HP they have left or something like that. They might ask on this test like how many stars are on the flag or whatever. So it's another thing that I should probably take note of here. That this app is kind of small. I should make it bigger here. See what's going on. Thai. So this one, there are some countries that might be a little confusing. Like I think Costa Rica and North Korea would be similar flags here, but Thai, just like you're wearing a tie down the middle. Tie is usually like blue or black or whatever, and then you got the red on the outside, maybe like suspenders. So if you turn it on the side, it's like a person at their chest or something. All right, Kypros. it's a pretty distinct flag. I think the only one that I think looks kind of similar would be like Kosovo, maybe. Um, it's got this like mythical animal with a horn on it that's a sea animal or sea creature or something. It's what it looks like, but I'm pretty sure that's the actual island, the country itself on the flag. So Taiwan, this is once again a country that Japan doesn't officially recognize as a country, but I think it's the one that most people in Japan would um, be in support of gaining independence. I mean, there's a lot of people that are. There's some people that aren't. There's one of those countries that's kind of um, whether it's officially recognized or not is famous as a the flag is pretty famous, I think, either way. So um, this one, I don't know. I think it comes up enough that most people probably recognize it, and it's you know got a lot of similarities to the Chinese flag. There's a lot going on there. So this isn't a political video, so Taiwan there. So we have the Congo Republic, I guess. Um, this one looks it's another one of the stoplight flags, right? It's kind of looks like an R if we take out the green and just have the yellow and the red making the R. It's Republic Congo. Again, I think you have to really study all these stoplight flags together to really get a good understanding of what is where. So that's how I remember it. Senegal, and here was Senegal and Cameroon, and so Senegal, Cameroon, and Ghana, I think, would be the most similar flags in this regard. All three have a single star in the middle, and they all have the stoplight colors on them. So learning to differentiate these three is good, I think. And for whatever reason, Cameroon makes me think of a running turtle, and you would think that turtles are green, so this might not be the best way to remember Cameroon. But and Senegal reminds me of Stoic philosopher Seneca, who I guess um, we could also imagine as green. So I, this is not a very good way to remember it, maybe because Senegal is the green one. So here we go. So Norway, I think I said earlier, it's got the sort of, it looks like a roadway going through it, and so I think of like blue as like the sort of either ocean or ice or something if it's around the edges, and then the red around the edges would be more like land or something. So it's a normal roadway in Norway. So remember it that way and when looking at the others. So Australia, I think a lot of people have seen this flag enough to know which one is Australia, but the problem is so many of these have these southern crosses on them. Just remembering that Australia has a Southern Cross and the extra, um, what is it, six-pointed star, I think, below the the Union Jack. So being able to differentiate from New Zealand is probably the biggest issue for most people. But New Zealand is different color, different, and it's lacking this star is I think what stands out. It's actually lacking two stars, but um, what stands out for Australia. So Guinea-Bissau. So we have another one of these Guinea countries, and this one. It actually looks a little bit like Ghana, but is not. So, why do I remember this one? I don't think I have a good explanation, but there it is. So Libya, Libya. This is actually probably one of the ones I have most trouble memorizing just as a flag, um, because there's similar name flags like Liberia or whatever, but Libya uh, kind of looks like Azerbaijan and a few other countries. It's probably just one of those flags that I've remembered more by it doesn't look or I remember the other flags more so than this one, which actually isn't very good. So I should probably come up with a way to remember Libya as its own flag, especially if I have to like describe it in words on the test or something. My son and I. So Mongol. I mean, this one's pretty distinct. It's actually one of the flags that has a sun in it on the left there. Well, Taiwan also has one, but it's kind of harder to tell that it's a sun, I think. Cameroon, we kind of went over this before, reminds me of a running turtle. Um, but for some reason, the turtle is yellow. So Trinidad, Tobago. This one, it's kind of like a reverse Tanzania in some ways. Again, it's probably a terrible way of trying to memorize it, but uh, it's um, maybe like a package of cigarettes, kind of looks like a package of cigarettes on the side. Tobacco, right? Tobago. No, not very good. I don't know. That's so Chuo Africa. So Central Africa, I think it's called. Um, this one I remember because it's got a line going straight through the center. So it's Central Africa, right? Um, and I don't think there are no other flags come to mind that have this straight line just directly through the center and then horizontal lines elsewhere. So Algeria, uh, Algeria, it's got similar colors to Nigeria, but then it's got the moon and star on it. So it's kind of like you take Nigeria and you shift it over a little bit, and then you add the moon and star. And I think Nigeria is like the something like the sixth most populated country in the world, where uh, Algeria would be like 34, 35. I don't know the exact number. I just remember these. I've seen a ranking of most populated, and it's I don't know. They the names are similar, right? So Cambodia. So it's got Angkor Wat, I think, on the flag, which is pretty distinct from other flags. I also kind of remember, like this is Cambodia is like a someone whose body is like a soda can, and they're like rolling down the stairs or something. And last time I actually that image just it does it for me because I even remember that I've seen a list of most populated countries, and Cambodia I remember is like number 72 on the list at the time that I saw it. So being able to memorize the just because of the cam body, it's kind of weird maybe, but so I got it. So you got the stairs on the uh, that the cam body would be rolling down. So next we have Afghanistan. This, I think, you know, if you are, um, I don't know, old enough, you probably saw it a lot on TV grown up or in movies and TV shows. So it probably comes up enough. It's fairly distinct, but I think most people know it. Chili. Okay, this might sound strange since I've never lived in America or even been to Texas, but for whatever reason, probably due to some TV show, maybe Young Sheldon or something. I don't know. I know the Texas flag, which looks very similar. I think the Texas flags maybe all the way through with the star, the blue part. And so in my mind, I just remember that Texans eat a lot of chili, which might not be true at all, but that's how I remember it. So Gambia, this is another one of those flags that kind of, might trip me up. But um, there was a character a long time ago. I think still exists. The green long character. I think his name's Gambi. Gambi. I don't know. Uh, so the flag that looks most like that guy, maybe. So I don't know. Maybe with the Gambia, we could have just remembered it looks like a mouth and you're chewing gum or something. Gum's in the middle. So Philippines, this one, pretty famous flag. Uh, I think most people would see it enough. It's for one of the flags with the triangles. It's also very distinct. Iraq, this one I think is in the news a lot too. One of the only flags that's just got like words scrolled up across the middle. So Samoa. This I think is another one of those ones that kind of reminds me of the Maori dance. It's the Samoans. Okay. Um, somebody tell me in the comments or whatever what's going on because I have no idea what the names I'm trying to remember here are. But you know, just like with Tonga, it's got the same basic setup for the flag itself, and then it's got that Southern Cross, star cross on it. So Namibia. So Namibia sounds kind of like Nama beer, which is like just a Japanese beer or something. So to me, the you're looking at a cup of beer from directly above. It's kind of like the foam's overflowing or something, and that is how I remember it. I don't personally even drink beer, but this that's the image that I have, and I can remember Namibia with the name from that. So Zambia, just like Mozambique, the ones that have zombie in them remind me of zombies. And um, there was I guess, a trope or something that was very common in TV for a while. I think they still have it, where we have like Nazi zombies or something, right? Uh, okay, so this is probably a terrible way to put it, but it's works for me being able to remember it. So Zambia, zombies, Nazi zombies, and then it looks kind of like the German flag. Yeah, I know everything's out of order and it's vertical instead of horizontal, but uh, that's how I remember this flag related to that country name. And again, just how you remember it isn't necessarily how you should think about the country or the people or anything or even the flag itself. Just it's a good way to memorize having these weird images. Okay, Colombia. Here's another one of those ones that we have. There's three very similar flags: Colombia, Ecuador, and Venezuela. And I think the countries are all side by side as well. Um, Probably have to do the geography test at some point too. Anyway, Colombia. Um, I mean, I kind of memorized it with the other two, and it reminds me of coffee. right? So, so I have a drink now, and I guess you know coffee might be yellowish in a cup. So, okay, Vietnam. I mean, this one's distinct from most other countries, and thanks to Vietnam, I also can very easily remember Suriname, which is because the flags look so similar, even though geographically they're in completely different locations. So we have Saudi Arabia again, pretty distinct flag, most just green and white. You got a sword, very easy to remember. Sort of like the. So we got Finland here, and Finland, I think of like shark fins and stuff coming out of the water. So we got four shark fins coming out of the cross water here. So Brunei, the flag itself is pretty distinct, I think. Uh, you probably, as long as you remember the name, the flag is probably not gonna get you caught up on anything here. You got these just hands going out to the side, nay, sort of thing. Saint Lucia is what Lucia, I think. So this one reminds me of the Triforce from the Legend of Zelda. So Princess Zelda, uh, Lucia. I don't know. Kinda connect them. Fiji. Okay, Fiji. When my son and I took the level 5 test, which is the lowest level of this test, we've passed 5 and 4. It's the only ones we've taken so far. I think the only question that we got wrong, neither of us knew offhand, was, and it was the level 5 still multiple choice, so this is actually in the answer. Um, it was what country flag contains bananas? And look at, like, if you look at this, it's probably bigger on the screen here than it actually is on the phone, but I cannot tell that these are bananas. Even if you make it much bigger, it's very difficult to tell that these are bananas. So you really have to know they're bananas before you know they're bananas. But now that I know they're bananas, I can look at the flag and say there's a banana like thing there, and it's not the weapons from Oman, so that's Fiji. So Liechtenstein, and I don't know how to pronounce this in English. I guess it's a very German like name, Liechtenstein, one of the smallest populated countries in the world, but I'm pretty sure they have a monarch, and so they've got this big crown on their flag here. So I think as long as you know how to spell the country name, and on the test here that we're going to be taking is going to be Japanese, so just like this, easy enough. But as long as you know how to spell the country name, maybe if you're taking a similar test in English or whatever, you should probably be fine. It's distinct enough. The country name itself maybe a little bit difficult to memorize again, but the monarch there, and I'm not actually sure offhand if they are a monarch, but I think they are. So okay, India, and this is probably one of the most common flags people see. So easy enough. Sorry, it wasn't mandara. It was what is it? The sewing wheel. Its names aren't coming out here. That Gandhi used way back in the day. So here we have Saint Vincent Grenadine. So the the uh, there's a like a V-like um, emblem here, and each one of them is sort of green, which is kind of like the color of a grenadine, which is, and I also remember Grenada is using grenades as well. So it's kind of strange. So you got the V-shaped grenade. So Saint Vincent Grenadine, right? Panama. So Panama. This is, I think it's fairly distinct. You got the two different colored stars, uh, and I'm pretty sure that the Panama colors actually represent the two major political parties in the country's flag itself. So, you know, that makes it really difficult for a country to have a third independent political party ever take power, probably. Uh, I don't know. But this one also looks kind of similar to the Tomica logo for children's toys that we have for like cars and stuff in Japan, or at least it reminds me of that. And if I actually looked at the logo, it might not look so similar, but it does here to me anyway. So, Panama. All right, Kosovo. Um, this one, again, there's very few countries that I think you'd get confused with this one. It's got 6 stars and um, the again the country itself in here, and it looks like it's you'd expect it to be like an island separated from everything else with the way it's all blue around Kosovo, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Bangladesh. Okay, this one uh, looks a lot like the Japanese flag in Japan, so it's kind of easy to remember the flag itself. And Bangladesh, I think it's the eighth most populated country in the world. It reminds me of like banging dishes together, and the circle could be a dish. So Bangladesh, right? Uh, Latvia. So just like with Namibia, the bia at the end reminds me of beer, and Dato kind of reminds me of light. Latovia, I think. So light beer. So again, beer color be brownish color. Light beer, maybe you add some white in there. Light beer, Latobia. So Zimbabwe, you got this this it reminds me of uh the we have these like bird treats in Japan. And I think there's actually something similar in North America. The peeps or something, right? It looks a lot like those. And the Zimbabwe and Zimbabwe currency, there's a lot of like talk about that and jokes about that way back, you know. Um, so the bird here really stands out, and I think it's actually this is another thing that I definitely need to check up on here. But this bird, I think it's a cultural symbol uh, in Zimbabwe, so we'll have to look that one up. Yeah. So Burundi, this one, Burundi. I mean, it looks kind of like Jamaica, but with different colors, right? I don't really have a great way of memorizing it at the time, though. So Burundi. So it's kind of connect Burundi and Jamaica, and like okay, Niue. So Niue. This I think this is the only country flag that has the Union Jack with a bunch of stars inside the Union Jack, and was Niue is like the second or third smallest country in the world, I think, in terms of population. Uh, Subaru is one of the other ones, which is also here. So Niue, you know, Niue. I don't know. Remember with the just how the Union Jack is and it's all yellow. It kind of stands out among the all the Union Jack flags. So uh, Luxembourg, Luxembourg is reminds me of the French flag, even though it's a different direction. And I guess if I tried to do this just with that uh, in mind, there'd be a lot of other flags that we might get caught up on. But it's like a lighter version of France, and I think it's very close to France as well. So it's like a it's the only one of those flags with those exact colors that has a very light blue in it. So Poland, and there's a lot of flags here. There's that have these colors. Um, you know, so Poland, you kind of remember. I have to put it together with like Indonesia and similar looking flags, and then just remember which one has white on top. Maybe you could like remember with uh, the Poland would be in the north, so it's a more snowy area. You got snow on top. Uh, Whereas Indonesia would be more the south, less snow, something like that. So Poland, snow on top. North Korea. Interestingly enough, this is one of the other countries that is showing up on this app, I guess. And I think the only country that the UN recognizes that Japan does not officially recognize as an independent nation or as a country or whatever. Like with the previous ones, it's of course uh, just terminology. But I think it's weird because North Korea shows up quite frequently in the news in Japan. And Japan is like, well, I don't know where those missiles are coming from. There's no country by that name. That's, I mean, people don't actually pretend it doesn't exist, but they don't. The government doesn't officially recognize it as a country. Is the thing. So I think enough people probably seen it to know what it looks like. Yeah. So Bulgaria, um, blue, Bulgaria, Bulgaria. I don't know the is it an L or an R? I don't know actually. Um, we have a yogurt brand in Japan known as Bulgaria. So yogurt uh, most frequently is white in color, and you know the yogurt cup. Let's say it's green and red. Probably isn't actually green and red. It's probably usually white. But you got the yogurt on the top because Bulgaria, and then Hungary would be the one where you're eating it in the middle. But Bulgaria is when the yogurt's still on the top. So Venezuela, is kind of like you take Colombia and you give us less coffee or something, right? And then you put some stars on there. So Venezuela, is it 8 stars or 7? Can't see on this. It's another thing I should probably double check. But Venezuela, China. This is top two most populated countries in the world. Very common flag. I don't think too many people have a problem with this one. Nigeria. We talked about this with Algeria. Algeria. Nigeria is like the green version of Peru, and we got just the green on both sides and the white in the middle. No emblem. And Nigeria, last time I checked, was the sixth most populated country in the world. A lot of people. Romania. So as long as Chad doesn't show up, Chad doesn't show up at the same time as Romania. So you should be okay. But I don't know. I remember it as a set, put Chado and Romania together and just try and remember which one is darker and which one is lighter. And then um, I didn't really have any way to just independently remember one of those. Somalia, or sorry, this is Shidia. I wasn't looking there. So, uh, Shidia is a. Yeah, I've actually seen this with 3 stars as well, and I'm not exactly 100% sure about the reasoning why sometimes it's 3 stars, sometimes it's two. Uh, there's probably some either historical context or some usage context there. Another thing I should look up before taking the test, perhaps. But Shiria, how do I remember it? Um, Shidi is like buttocks in Japanese. So maybe you got like 2 star stickers on your buttocks and turn around and you're mooning someone or something. Again, just a way to memorize. This isn't like commentary on anything or anyone or whatever. Just making a weird image in your mind. You remember whatever. So, Morocco. So, Morocco, um, how do I remember Morocco? I don't know. It just kind of stands out among the rest. Kazakhstan. So, this one, you got the eagle. I think it's an eagle carrying the sun. And I guess you have what is it on the left there? I can't see. Another thing that I should look up, because there's a lot of parts to flags that I don't 100% know the meaning of or the or exactly what it is. Just like I mentioned with the Fiji flag bananas that we got wrong on the level 5 test. So level 3 and 2 coming up are going to be even harder. So and there's will be a lot of more written answers. So Vanuatu, um, I remember looking up what this was before, but I do not remember the answer. Um, but I remember it because Banu sounds like, and I actually think in English this might be a V sound rather than a B. Um, Hopefully someone could tell me, but bun reminds me of like a cinnamon bun, and then atsu is like hot, so a hot cinnamon bun is is what that thing on the left in the triangle of the flag looks like to me. Hot cinnamon bun, banuats, maruta. So maruta, the flag reminds me of a directional pad on a video game controller, and that's just how I remember maruta. So I guess on the PlayStation, maybe you'd have a Maru button as well, and that doesn't look like a directional pad on a PlayStation though. So so Dominica, Dominica. So there's the Dominica Republic, and then there's the Dominica non-republic. So this one, it's uh, the only, actually, technically, one of only 2 flags in the world, country flags, that uses the color purple in it. So you got this bird there. I got to look up what bird that is. I actually think this might have shown up on the level 4 that we did last time, and I probably got that wrong. But it's the bird in the middle. It's got chest is purple, so purple ink is at least was a lot more expensive than other inks. So that's why it was used as like a royal color, or seen as a lot more royal and high class than other colors. And in Japan, we have the same thing. Like for royalty, purple highest color, and then you got red, and then you got some other colors below that. But you know, royal purple, Dominica here. So it stands out as it has more purple than any other flag, and it's one of the only flags that has any purple at all. Qatar. So you kind of have to put this together with Bahrain. Um, Qatar, it looks like a brown color, but apparently this is supposed to um, symbolize the blood of the people. And I remember hearing that it was originally more reddish when they first made the flag, but then for whatever reason, I don't know if it was an issue with the ink or whatever, but they somebody made the flag uh, like a brownish color, and the people in charge of the country at the time were like, "Hey, that's cool. Let's keep it brown. It's it's a cool flag." And I'm pretty sure that Qatar is actually the longest horizontal flag in the world. Kiribati. So the name might be like a chopping bus or something. So you got this sun that looks like a razor blade coming out of the ocean, and then there's I guess that's a seagull, another one of those birds. I should just get like a list of flags with birds and try and figure out what all these birds are, because I guarantee you this one's going to be on the tests at some point anyway. Some of these birds. So Nicaragua, Nicaragua, I cannot see at all in this app. Um, the details, and it probably won't show up on the screen either. But uh, if I remember correctly, Nicaragua is the only other flag that has any purple in it, because there's like a rainbow in the center of the flag here. And there's one other flag that looks very similar to Nicaragua that I'm sure is going to come up soon. But I remember Nicaragua is the one, the like brighter, more vibrant one. Armenia. Um, the flag itself, maybe it's because it's blue instead of green, but this one stands out as very easy for me to remember, um, despite the colors not being particularly, or the flag itself being particularly distinct from a lot of other flags. So Micronesia Rempo is the Micronesia. So you got these tiny little stars, and they're micro, and that's all you got, just the micro stars. So Ethiopia, um, again, pretty is like uh, was it the 11th most populated country or something? I don't know, man. But the it would be very confusing if they did not have the emblem in the center, but there's a big blue dot with a very shiny star here. So Bahrain is very similar to Qatar, how the flag looks, except it's redder. And the way I memorize this is Bahrain sounds kind of like a brain. So I think of a brain sort of like sliding down a plane of glass or something, and which is maybe a little bit strange, but uh, I don't know. Again, this very solid image, and I remember Bahrain fairly well. I think when I looked it up, it was population wise like 121, 121st, or around that in population as well. Kenya. So one of the only two flags that has a shield. Um, Pretty sure it was 26th in population in the world when I saw it. So it's got shield and spears. Uh, so there's only one other flag that's going to come up. Probably there it is in the bottom, but it's not South Africa. So uh, we got South Africa here. It's a Y that kind of stands out more than the others. I think South Africa might have more colors in a non um, image flag, at least, than any other flag. So South Africa, maybe the most colors overall. Don't know. So Ecuador, we're back to these coffee ones, and there's an eagle stealing our coffee in Ecuador. Portugal. So this one is actually, I think it's a famous flag, but at the same time, um, unless you're into like soccer or something, maybe it doesn't come up too often. But you can kind of think of Porto is like a ship port or something, and you know turning the wheel on the ship to get to the port. So Sudan, kind of remember alongside Minami Sudan, and it becomes a little bit easier. South Sudan. So Sudan and South Sudan would look very similar. And this, I mean, individually, if I was just asked, okay, explain the flag of Sudan, like the order of the colors or something, I'd probably mess it up actually. So need to look. Ghana. Okay, this is just like with Belgium. Ghana, there's a chocolate brand, at least in Japan anyway. I don't know if it's anywhere else in the world, called Ghana, and the color black I use in flags to remember chocolate, or I guess the other way around. I use chocolate to remember the color black. So we got this chocolate star in the middle here. There's one chocolate star. Santo Me Principe, I guess, has two chocolate stars, but we'll ignore that. Ghana chocolate. So Myanmar, this is just the name reminds me of a cat, which doesn't really help memorize the flag, but I do um, think that this was like 27th in population in the world. Uh, and the flag is, I guess, distinct enough with this giant white star that you can get it. Egypt, I mean, this you got this is the Egypt also an eagle? And again with these birds, right? Um, and I think the flag comes up enough that people see it. You got sort of the gold color, which is like Egypt. You probably think of gold and like pyramids and sand and stuff. So Guatemala. So here we have Guatemala. This one is another one of those countries that I haven't really got a good enough way to remember it. To remember Guatemala distinctly, but I mean the emblem that they actually have in the flag is probably distinct enough that if you looked at it closely, uh, you'd know what's going on. This was is it their Declaration of Independence or something? Some weapons. I think there's a bird on there, maybe. Again, I cannot see, and I'm blanking a bit on the details. So we got the Kongo Minshu Kyowakoku, which is the uh, Congo DR, I guess. I think it's um, this one. I kind of remember it as I don't know why, but the star um, is opposed to something like Tanzania or uh, Namibia, whatever. It's star is distinct. I guess I've got it down with those. So, um, and then we have the other Congo, the Congo Republic, and the Congo what is it, Dominic? No, shoot. Yeah, I'm making a fool of myself again. So anyway, got these. You could just gotta put the Congos together and remember which is which, and then go around there. So Albania, I think it's pretty distinct. There's a lot of these double-headed eagles here, but they each one has something distinct about them. And Albania is kind of reminds me of like vampires or something. Vampires in the dark, so it's all black. So Mozambique, it's another zombie one. And what do you want when you are fighting zombies? I want to be able to farm, to shoot, and to read books, right? So Russia, probably a lot of people are familiar with the flag, but there's also a lot of flags that look pretty similar. So just like with the Bulgaria yogurt, uh, or the Poland snow, we have Russia's also got the snow on top. So top layer snow. So Marawi, this one, the country itself, I don't know a lot about it, but the flag, it's got this uh, sun, I guess, rising on the top. Kind of easy to just know what it is between when comparing with other flags, I think. So Barbados. This is actually, I think, probably one of my favorite flags, just because I mean, it's just got this trident. It's simple, and it's pretty cool. It's like, Aquaman or something. And Barbados already sounds like a pirate or something, right? Cabo Verde. This one reminds me, in Better Call Saul, there was Mesa Verde, and which is what it reminds me of. And I think this one is actually 141st most populated country in the world. I might be off by a little bit, something around that. I remember it because of Mesa Verde, where Kim worked in Better Call Saul, and I, I, I don't know how that helps with the design of the flag though. But you got the how many stars have we got here? We have 10 stars, I guess. So 10 stars and a red line shooting straight through them. So I guess the 10 stars would be like carbohydrates or something. Cabo verde, right? So Gabon. Gabon. This is another one of those flags that I don't really have a good way of having memorized it. It actually, Gabon reminds me of uh, Zabon from Dragon Ball. I don't know why. Um, and it also kind of reminds me of Gambia, which is another country we had earlier. So it's got like the green in it, and I don't know. This one's kind of tough to memorize, but I know it when it comes up. Spain. This one comes up pretty often. I think most people know Spain. Honduras. So Honduras would be, um, I guess it's very similar to like Nicaragua and those and the other areas around there with the blue on top and bottom. But then it's got the 5 stars. So I don't know how I can explain memorizing it, but it's just one that comes up that I guess I've known for a while. I don't even know if I didn't know it specifically when I started studying the flag. So Somalia. Okay, this one, in the news some years ago, you had a lot of Somalian pirates. I think it comes up on TV once in a while. Somalia, maybe a lot of people know Liberia. So liberty, kind of, you know, uh, it's one of those American values, at least on TV anyway. I don't never lived in America. I don't know, but it looks very much like the American flag, but with a single star. And I think that Liberia was um, got their independence with the help of America. So they made their flag very similar due to that reason. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. So it's got 11 stripes. So this is actually one of the questions I think that came up in the level 4 test that we did before, like how many stripes are on the uh, the Liberia flag and what do they represent, or something like that. And the level 4 is also it was multiple choice, I think. So um, I think I got it right, but it's not something that, like, remembering how many stripes are on each flag of countries that you've never even been to is kind of tough sometimes. So, but there we go. Yeah.
So Suriname, I think I mentioned this with Vietnam, even though we appear to be in South America here. It looks like the Vietnam flag, but with green and white on the top and bottom, right? So very similar flags, and that's how I remember Suriname. The names are kind of similar to Suriname, Vietnam, right? France. So it's one of those countries that maybe I guess there's a lot of flags that look similar is the problem, even though France comes up often, right? So we have like Italy and others here, and they can make it difficult. So France, I guess you just have to remember the red, white, blue. They often fight with England or maybe they fight with America. I don't know the history there, but there's a lot of fights with France and England. So you got the horizontal lines that we get there. So the Cook Islands here, the stars are in the shape of like a frying pan for cooking. Cook Islands. So South Sudan, as I mentioned earlier, I can't remember it along with Sudan, but I think the colors of the lines are actually very different from Sudan, which is kind of make it tough to remember. But aside from the stars is, and maybe the white lines are the biggest difference that stand out. And if you memorize it along with Sudan, Minami's South Sudan, you can connect them there. So Paraguay, Paraguay I think is the only flag that, maybe not the only one, but one of the only flags that on one side and the other side, on the reverse side, it's got a different emblem, so a different design in the middle there. So if you remember that there's a para emblem in your eye, if you look at it with your eye from the other side, be different than get Paraguay. Right? New Zealand, kind of talked about this earlier with Australia, kind of remember it is different from Australia, so you got the red stars instead. Chad, this one is it's tough to remember because Romania looks almost exactly the same. So except for like a slightly different shade of blue or whatever they're the same. But if you remember alongside Romania, and then you have like them side by side, it's a lot easier to remember Chad and Romania. So we got Togo, which I remember this as like, to go. Like if you're at a restaurant, you want to take your food home, it's to go. So to go, which doesn't actually help a lot with memorizing what the flag looks like. So we got these 3 green lines and two yellow lines, and then the red box and the white star. I guess kind of like you come this way, you get to the star restaurant, and then you go with your food to go home. El Salvador. Here's what I was mentioning earlier. So this one, it's like a less joyful emblem in Nicaragua, maybe, I don't know. But the flags look fairly similar, and at least on this app, it looks like the shades of blue are quite different. Oddly enough, because I didn't notice that before. I don't know if that's just with this app or they're actually very different shades of blue. But the emblems are like the biggest difference that you have to look at. So Parao, I think I mentioned in the beginning, this is the moon, not the sun. In the flag, Indonesia, okay, 4th largest populated country in the world. So this is, right after, you have India and China, which they kind of switch between first and second place and then you have you have where else do we have? Then sorry, my headphones just shut off all of a sudden for some reason. Anyway, uh, yeah, then you have America is actually the third most populated country in the world, and then Indonesia is the fourth, which surprisingly I don't think a lot of people know. Despite being one of the most populated countries in the world, I think it doesn't really have a lot of recognition. Like if you went to, I don't know, countries in North, South America or Europe, and you ask someone about Indonesia, like, what's that? I've never heard of that. Well, maybe some people, people who don't take much interest in geography or whatever, or world politics or whatever you're looking at. So, similar to Poland, except it's not as snowy. It's more hot, maybe. So you got the red on top instead of the white. So Belize, this is probably one of the um, most recognizable flags because it's like the only one that's got humans standing around doing stuff. So, and there's like a tree, and you can think they're picking berries or something. So, Belize. So now we have Saint Christopher Nevis and or Nevis here, and this it's Nevis kind of reminds me of it sounds nebulous to me, which right, nebulous Nevis Nevis. Was it a V or a B? I don't know. So you got this one on the bottom with the stars that you'd find in a nebula, and then the black behind it because it's nebulous. So Nevis. And how you remember Saint Christopher in there, I don't know, but here we got Christopher Nevis. And now we have the Dominican Republic as opposed to the Dominica country with the bird. So I remember this one mostly as like together with Panama for some reason. So the Republic, you got the red, which is kind of in a lot of countries represents Republican. So and the other Dominican country didn't have the red; it had purple, but not red. So or it might have had some red, yeah, but not so distinct. So I kind of remember this with Panama. The Dominican Republic looks a lot like the Panama flag. Okay, Italia. So it's Mexico without the emblem, if you remember Mexico. And I guess you probably see this all the time in Italian restaurants or whatever. So it comes up enough, I think. What do we got next? Singapore. Singapore, um, looks similar to Indonesia, but you got the moon and the stars singing. You sing at the moon, you sing at the stars. Singapore. Malaysia. So the actual flag itself, the only things that you might get it confused with would probably be uh, Liberia or America, and uh, Malaysia's just, I mean, it's got that more moon and star image to it, and it's got a lot of points on the star. So this is probably one of those questions that's going to come up somewhere on one of these tests. How many points on the Malaysian star, or whatever. And is that 12? I cannot see from here anyway. So kind of remember like America, Liberia, and Malaysia as a set, and you got to count the stripes on them too, I think. So the Solomon Islands here, I don't know, I kind of think of islands, beach, and then the night sky. You see stars in the sky. The wisdom of Solomon in the stars. All right, Costa Rica. So
uh, clearly we have some that we might get confused with here. Uh, with Thai. Thai, it was sort of, I think when we went over Thai, it's Thailand in English. So Thai, you got the Thai. Thais are usually, let's say, black or darker colors, as opposed to Costa Rica, which is not a Thai. So now we have Serbia. So Serbia is another one of those double-headed eagle countries, and I guess the toughest part would be to differentiate it from other double-headed eagles. So it's you got the crown and like or similar looking countries like Slovakia, Slovenia, or Croatia. Um, it's not a very good explanation here. Serbia, Lesotho. You got this hat, this special hat. It looks like a bell, and Lesotho is kind of reminds me of resort um, resort food. Uh, So you take the thing off the food, and you got the food under the uh, what is that even called? The bowl that goes on top of the food to keep it warm, or on TV keep it hidden until it gets to the person you're serving. Right? You take it off, and this kind of reminds me of that. But I think it's a traditional hat actually. So Cuba probably comes up in news and stuff, but at the same time, I mean, if you're not familiar with it, it might be kind of tough. Cuba. Um, how do I remember it? I don't know. I've just seen it enough, I guess. There was that movie, not based on true story, Naiad, where she swam from Cuba to Florida. And spoiler alert, she might succeed, maybe not. I'm not gonna say, but yeah, yes. If you watch the movie on that, it's a long swim. It's like 177 kilometers or something. All right, Austria. So Austria, you're shifting one of those flags, either Poland down or Indonesia up, or you merge Poland and Indonesia together, and you get Austria. All right, Azerbaijan. So this one, the colors themselves, I feel, are distinct enough that they stand out from other similar looking flags, but yeah. Sri Lanka. So this one, you got this lion with a sword. You don't often come to find lions with swords very, very frequently, so it stands out. And then I remember the green and the orange here. I'm pretty sure they represent Islam and Buddhism, which are the main religions in Sri Lanka. So, uh, and was there also Hinduism somewhere in here? I don't remember offhand, but I mean the flag itself stands out. But again, on these tests, we also get questions of, okay, what is the meaning of this, or how many of this are on that, or whatever. Like, it was like, okay, what country has a lion with a sword? You'd be like, oh, Sri Lanka, that's easy. But if it's like, okay, what country has two religions with two colors that are separated from the rest of the flag by or whatever, or what are the religions in the Sri Lankan flag or something like that. So, but for now, we'll just remember these. So I kind of remember this Slovenia along with Slovakia because the flags look very similar to me, except Slovakia has the double cross and Slovenia is smaller because maybe it's slower. Albania. It also sounds kind of like Castlevania, which you might get confused with Albania, Albania. I don't know. So Albania. Anyway, so Slovenia. Uh, remember that way. So Mali, as we said at the beginning, here's all the stoplight sign. flags here. Mali has the green on the left, and Guinea has the red on the left. So, what kind of stoplight you're working with here? So, Sierra Leone. This one I remember because it looks exactly like a convenience store we have in Japan, Family Mart. And this is, I think, the 101st most populated country in the world. So, you know, just a little bit over the edge, somewhere in the middle there. So, Family Mart. Iceland. So, ice is cold. So, the blue is on the outside as opposed to like Norway or whatever. So, Iran. Iran comes up often, I think, in the news these days. Uh, and it's got this. This looks kind of like the Rebel logo from Star Wars to me in the middle. So Mauritius. Mauritius is. I my way for remembering this one is probably not going to make any sense to anybody, but Mori is like forest in Japanese, and Mauritius sounds kind of like delicious in English. So it's a delicious forest. So you remember forest is green, and then you got all these other delicious colors mixed in with it, which is probably a lot of flags, might fall under that, but you got the green on the bottom. So Turkmenistan. This one I think is pretty easy because you got the I think they're traditional rugs on the side, but to me they look like an Indian curry menu, right? So I remember the flag that way, and then so Turkmenistan. I don't know. I don't know how I connect it with the name of the country itself, but say Turkmenistan, immediately think of you got the curry menu, traditional rugs, right? Rwanda. So uh, this Rwanda apparently their flag before the massacre, the horrible genocide that took place there, was had the traditional African colors of the stoplight colors, but then and it had like a Team Rocket logo in the middle. But after the genocide, the president, I think, or somebody anyway, decided that it would not be right to continue with that flag, and a lot of flags also have they use red to symbolize blood or whatever, the blood of the people. Um, and they decided that this was not very acceptable, so they changed it to this flag that has no red instead. So they basically got rid of the red entirely, um, and they put a sun in there. Make it very, peaceful future, looking towards the future instead of the terrible stuff that happened in the past. And look, I'm way over time at the top here. Got way over time there. So got I think I am supposed to be able to finish this in 12 minutes without any mistakes, but I'm describing stuff as I'm doing it, so that's all right. All right, Uganda. Probably again one of those things that you shouldn't say normally, but I remember the Uganda Knuckles meme was going out, and Knuckles, he's not like a chicken or anything, but he's an animal. He's an echidna, and I just, to me, the Uganda bird in the middle there, I pretend it's an echidna or something, and that's how I remember Uganda. Right, Lithuania. So this is a weird one because it's got the colors of, and it looks very much like a country you'd find in Africa just based on the colors, but it is in Europe. So that in itself is weird, or it might be in the, I guess it depends how you slice up the world map, but yeah, view it as Europe anyway. And just remembering Lithuania is like they've got the stoplight colors, but since they're not in Africa, their stoplight is completely out of order. They start with yellow and then they go green and then red. Slow down, go, stop. You know, not a very efficient traffic control method there. So Brazil, yeah, this one comes up a lot. How many stars are there? It's like 21 constellations or something. Gotta look that up. Checo, Czech, Checo. Um, this one looks. It kind of reminds me of Chile, just the colors, but it is a different flag. So I don't know. They both have the ch start, right? So Ukraine very came up a lot in the news and social media not long ago. So it's one probably most people have seen recently. Montenegro. So this is another one of those royal double-headed eagle countries. As long you gotta like line them up and say, okay, what country is got one? Monte. I know the red is very royal color. Montenegro sounds very again. Can't think of the English word right now, but very that sort of sovereignness that you got to it, kingliness. So um, Botswana in Japanese it sounds like a failed trap design or something, but it also kind of reminds me of a bucket for some reason, like a bucket. And this was like a number 140 in the world for population, I think. So um, pretty up there on the list. So the flag itself, it's got blue on top and blue on bottom because they don't get a lot of water and there's no body of water around them. So it's like sort of their call for rain, basically. Antigua Barbuda. So this one, pretty distinct flag. Uh, I don't know what Antigua means. Barbuda sounds like the sound that you'd have for a baby in North America or whatever. Babu. Just Japan. Or sorry, no. That would be goo goo gaga. Yeah, in Japan we have babu is what babies say. So I'm saying that backwards. What I want to say here. So we say babu is like the baby sound, which means goo goo gaga is what I think people in North America say. So Babu, Babuda. So I kind of remember it as a baby. Maybe this is the birth canal. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Canada. So I intentionally say that kind of funny. So it's like Peru with a maple leaf. I mean, it's pretty distinct from most other flags. It's enough. The Vatican City. Um, this one very distinct flag, lowest population of any country in the world. I don't think that the UN recognizes it as a country, but Japan does. So keys and very royal esque stuff there. So the Marshall Islands. I remember this one, like the Dalmatian from Paw Patrol. Maybe his fire truck is going boom down the road very quickly, and it looks like there's a road going like off to the diagonal there. Got a Dalmatian driving a car. Nepal, this flag stands out. It's tough if you're asked about maybe the star and the points or the or whatever, but the actual shape and what country it is pretty easy, I think. Greece, pretty famous one. Um, what is it? The start of Western civilization, maybe Greece.
Um, you got Uruguay beside as well. So eritoria. So eri is like a shirt collar in Japanese, and tori it would be like to take, and just be like ah. So so I think of this as like taking the shirt collar, and there's like a shirt collar here on the left, which isn't actually a shirt collar, but it looks kind of like a shirt collar. So eritoria. So Burkina Faso kind of reminds me of Burger King, the name. I mean, and then you got the burger in the middle, which a star-shaped burger. So Yorudan. So Yorudan, kind of remember it with all these other similar-looking flags, except it's got a small star there. Probably need to again put up all these triangle ones that have the same colors and decide. Croatia, remember this one is a black chair, and uh, this it's not really black, but you could maybe use this thing as a chair. Looks more like a chessboard. So kuro is black, so you got the black chess pieces, and you're in a chair playing chess on the chessboard. Rwanda, the Netherlands. So this one again is very probably a lot of people have seen it. It's kind of like I think it came up as well when we were asked what country France was, and um, it's because you can think of it as like similar to Hungary in that you're hungry in the netherworld for food. So you got the space in the middle of the mouth, but you don't have green because it's Rwanda. All right, Andorra. So Andorra, um, the Star Wars series that came out not long ago. I haven't actually seen it. Andorra, sort of like a royal crest. There's another one of those royal flags. It's very, very small country though. Andorra. I mean, it sounds like it would have a shield or something. So Nauru, um, when they lined up here with the Marshall Islands, it looks actually kind of tough, but you got it Nauru on the bottom. I don't really have a good way of memorizing this. I just kind of know it because it's not the other ones. You have Argentine, so Argentine. Um, there is a tea that I sometimes drink. It's got this sun on it, so as long as I know it's not Uruguay, I know it's Argentine. Angora. This one you got it looks a lot like the old communist logo, but you got the machete, the gear, and the star. So it kind of reminds me of like The Walking Dead. They'd use the machete. Angora. I mean, it's a pretty distinct flag. Angora, right? Granada. I mentioned way back grenade. This thing on the left here looks like a flame, and you probably wouldn't like a grenade on fire with a flame, but it could be a grenade that's just going off, right? Maybe you think of dynamite or something, granada, grenade, and there's like an explosion in the middle going boom, always. Yemen. So Yemen is it's a tough one to I think remember Yemen because there's nothing really distinct about it. It looks like a lot of other flags, but it's got nothing in it. So you just gotta like make something up, kind of like with Oman when you say you're slipping on a banana peel. What would you say when you said, "Yeah, man"? You'd be like, "Well, what if you got in your house?" And you'd be like, "Absolutely nothing." You say, "Yeah, man." It's a ridiculous conversation.
All right, Monaco. And okay, yeah, Monaco. This looks exactly like Indonesia, but it's a different size. It's smaller this way. So, um, and it's also one of the smallest populated countries in the world as well, Monaco. So basically Indonesia, but more compact. Eswatini, which used to be Swaziland until what is 2011 or maybe it's 2017. This is another thing, might show up on the test, knowing what year things changed. So this is the only flag besides Kenya that has like a shield and spears. Eswatini. And for me, Eswatini, to remember the name itself, I remember very tiny SWAT people. They got their riot gear on and everything, and they are going to their SWAT. So, uh, Haiti. What would you call it? Haiti. Anyway, you got this thing in the middle. It When I first looked at it, I thought this was like just a boat sailing or something, but I think it's there's a whole lot going on in here with like trumpets and weapons and cannons. I think I should take a good look at this at some point, but yeah, the flag itself pretty distinct if you look at the emblem. So Japan, this one, I live here, so I hope I would know what this one is. England is another famous one. Um, the only thing I say about England is like you see the line on the left is falling down towards it's not in the center, right? And the one on the bottom as well is also not in the center. They're both the gravity is heavier on the left and lighter on the right is something that they might ask you on like the test. Maybe even if it's a multiple choice, they'd have like four different Union Jacks, and they'd be like, which one's the real one? So remember, gravity is heavier on the left. Here we go. Korea, very distinct. Again, this is one of those ones you probably want to take a look at what all of the are these actually Hangul? I don't know, but all of the things on the all around it are. So you got the three straight lines on the left top, two straight lines on the left bottom, one straight line on the right top, and then zero straight lines on the bottom right. So 3, 2, 1, 0, right? But um, that is when I say straight lines, I mean lines going all the way through. Of course, all these lines are straight lines. So Korea. Now we have America. So America, this one, it came up. There's actually several questions on the American flag on each of the tests that we've already done, my son and I. Uh, and I don't think I've mentioned my son's he's 6 years old now, so but he's got most of the flags memorized pretty well. But anyway, I'm pretty sure America's 13 stripes, 50 stars, 9 rows, uh, and then 5 or 6 per row is something that you got to memorize. And I might have got this wrong on the level 4 test, even though I calculated, because I don't know offhand, like I didn't know offhand how many rows were of stars there were. Like I know there's 50 stars, of course. I think pretty much everybody knows that, but I didn't know it was 9 rows of stars. And then there's some questions on the tests that get very difficult. Like they on the level 4, they would be asking just like, okay, when, um, how many stars were there at this point, or what year was the last state introduced uh, into America, and they got their 50th star, or how many or when did they get their 49th star as well, they'd ask. But then if you get into harder questions, and maybe on the test that we're going to take, they'll ask you something like, okay, when the Emperor of Japan at this point visited America, how many stars were there on the flag? Or when this famous Japanese person went to America for these amount of years, and in these years, how many times did the flag change, or something kind of tough like that you really need to know the history and the years and everything. The American flag, I think, because it's changed like 20 something times, um, there's a lot of questions that they'll ask about it, and they'll ask you years, number of stars, stripes, all that stuff. So it's one of the flags that you probably have to study the hardest if you're going to take some kind of flag test. Pakistan, the fifth most populated country in the world. Kind of similar to Nigeria in the colors here, but we got the moon and the stars. So Tsubaru, one of the smallest countries in the world. Uh, you got the Union Jack, and then you got way more stars than like most other countries have. So um, Tsubaru, there's a constellation name. Uh, reminds me of Subaru anyway. Or what is it? It's Subaru is the English. What is it? Suval? Maybe it's harder to get this image in your mind in or in English, but in Japanese, Subaru sounds very much like Subaru, which kind of reminds you of star constellations. So you can see all these stars, and as long as you don't get it confused with Niue, then I think you can go through there. All right, Guyana. This one, um, kind of like with the Saint Lucia, remembering the Zelda Triforce. This one, Princess Diana, maybe another royalty, and you got the Triforce, but it keeps getting bigger. Just how I remember it. Moldova. So okay, so we have Andorra and Moldova together here, and these, I think these are kind of hard to differentiate. But in Moldova, you got this like bowl there as well. So bowl, Moldova bowl, right? But and when I say right, everybody's gonna be like, "What? What's right? What are you talking about?" So you got a bowl in Moldova, so it's like a Doba. I don't know, it sounds more bully than Andorra. No? Do you think? Turco. So as long as you can not get it confused with Tunisia, I think it's uh, distinct enough, maybe. Turkey, Turco. So Arab Shucho is UAE, United Arabian uh, Emirates, was it? Anyway, this one, I mean, there's a lot of flags that look similar to it, but it's one of the very few that isn't a triangle. Tajikistan. Okay, Tajikistan. This is um it reminds me of the flag itself reminds me of the scales of justice, basically. But at the same time, like, how do the scales of justice go back to the name Tajikistan? It's kind of, I don't really have a good way to put those together. Uh, but I just kind of remember the Tajikistan Scales of Justice flag. So Estonia. So there's a lot of just three colored flags in the world, horizontal three colored flags. There's a bunch here too. But and we also have Sierra Leone, which looks like Family Mart. But unlike that, Estonia, I don't have it connected directly to um, any like anything that I knew before Estonia. But for some reason, the Estonia flag, I like how it looks. It's like it's a nice flag, and I don't know why. Like there's so many other flags that are just colors going to the side, and there's some distinct ones too. But for some reason, Estonia looks nice to me. It's a nice flag. I like it, and I'm pretty sure we mentioned the Usternak for Uzbekistan from Resident Evil 6, right? A while back. I'm pretty sure that the first time the Ustanak appeared in Resident Evil 6 was in the first chapter of the Jake scenario. And if memory serves again, the place that the Jake scenario began was in Estonia during like some war that was going on there. Again, I might be, it might not have been Estonia, but I'm pretty sure it was. So, nice flag. Okay, Benan. Benan, the name reminds me of Venom from, Spider-Man Venom. But the flag itself looks similar to Madagascar, but has the full set of stoplight colors here. So I don't really have a way to relate it back to Venom, like the name, but I kind of remembered it alongside Madagascar. So it's not Madagascar, it's Benin. Georgia. Georgia reminds me of Curious George for some reason, but well, not for some reason. This is the George part, I think. But here it looks like the old England flag, I think, to me anyway. So just remember, like, it's pretty distinct from other flags still used today in most countries anyway. Georgia. Sweden. This is another one that I think a lot of people already know. Uh, as long as you don't get it confused with like Finland or Norway and whatnot. Pretty easy. Uh, Djibouti. Djibouti. It's another one of those triangle flags, but I think the colors stand out enough that it looks different. And to me, the name, the Djibouti, um, it reminds me of Ghibli, like Totoro and stuff. Totoro is, blue and white. So, you got the very, a lot of the flag here is blue and white. Totoro, Djibouti. So, Mauritania. So, kind of like with the other Mori ones, it reminds me of Mori for forest. A lot of green. And then Tani is like a valley. So you got the moon and the star there. You got like the moon kind of makes a valley heading towards the star in the forest. Mauritania, right? And when I say right, I don't know how many people agree. All right, last one, Koto Jiboaru, which is, I think, in English, I think you say Ivory Coast. So as we said in the beginning, the Ireland flag, Ireland, Irish green, not Irish, not green. So Koto Jiboaru is the one that does not start with green on the left. Is just, I think, the easiest way to remember that, and you should probably memorize those flags together because they look similar otherwise. So this is the last one here. Complete. Okay. There we got a commercial showing up. And I cannot seem to exit out of this. So anyway, there was some flag training for today. It took quite a bit of time. I'm gonna see if I can do it again later. This is the first time I went through this, the world on this app anyway, or maybe on any app. First time, and my score probably won't even get recorded because I can't get out of this commercial here. Anyway, yeah. So I went through the world, every flag. I'll see if I can do it a lot faster. Maybe one more time before the test. This coming up this weekend. So Wish me luck. My son, 6 years old, he's probably could get almost 200 looking at the this app. I think there's still a few that he gets confused with as well, but you know, it's he's yeah, I think if you get kids to look at these early, they're really good at differentiating most of the countries and memorizing the names of all the countries. And me personally, until I was an adult already, um, I didn't even know the names of most countries or uh, the flags of most countries. Like the 200 that we just did now, there'd be maybe 10 I was absolutely certain of. Maybe 20 more that I'm kind of like, oh, maybe this is that. And then there are 170 flags that show up. I'd be like, oh, okay, I just got no idea, right? So, uh, which compared to just I don't know how many, less than a decade ago. I think a lot better at flags now, and it's something that one of these things that a lot of people just say, oh, you don't even just not really, you don't even need to know it, but I think it's something that's good to know. It's good to have, whether you treat it as just general knowledge or you actually use it for something good to have. So maybe I'll upload another training video before we go to the test, and I will tell you what the test was like after. All right, wish us luck. Here's my mouse. Here we go.